Hello, everybody. That's Katy Purry, the dopamine coon cat. All right, so Katy is just a little over 5 months old, about 8 pounds. She's growing like a weed. She's super sweet. And we've been learning a lot about cats from this National Geographic, The Secret Life of Cats. And I found a couple of things I wanted to kind of read. Very interesting. A couple of parts here. Uh, Specifically related to this isn't related to Maine Coon, but I'm going to kind of talk about it. Excuse me, because they're very different. Um, we're coming to a day where we'll be doing live streams with her running around with a little camera on her neck, probably next week or the week after. It's coming soon. But right now we're doing a stream because she's sleeping. She's not going anywhere, and she is gorgeous. The funny thing is, she's growing as we speak. All right, so listen, cat maturation, how they grow up. Although their cuteness is timeless, a kitten becomes a cat in a vanishingly short period. Like many newborn wild felids, kittens are born completely blind, deaf, and almost completely helpless. They depend on their mother for food and shelter, and even to urinate and defecate, believe it or not. Um, in less than a month, kittens learn to see, hear, and walk, all fueled by their mother's milk and care. Now, uh, probably a good time to tell you this. A vanishingly short period of time? I think not. I'll tell you what, Maine Coon cats grow, they say, to 4 or 5 years it takes to reach maturity. So she is, you know, she's going to be very, very big. And so the maturation time is different on a coon. She's also done, she continues to do very, very well in the cat box. Early on, she had trouble burying her number two, a deuce. She would bury it and then not feel like it was adequately buried and ended up walking around in there and doing a little tap dance on top of her business. And because their feet look like that, loaded with fur, they end up being like a sponge. And she would, leave her little paw prints everywhere. But she's gotten much better at that. But anyway, from kittens to young adults, listen to this. A kitten's first teeth, including canines and incisors, begin to appear around 3 weeks of age, and more continue to arrive in its fourth and fifth weeks. Besides eating with their teeth, cats also use them to remove knots from their fur. You see them do that all the time. You have. I'm not sure if we all see it, but I'm not sure if everybody knows that's what they're doing. Kittens will begin imitating their mother by licking themselves to keep clean. Funny story. When we first got, and this is really funny because I found it odd too. But let me tell you the story first, and then what I found odd about it. The first 2 days we had Katie. Actually, it was the fourth day because it was maybe it was the fifth day. It was the second day that they were around each other. And there was never any fighting right from the beginning. They just kind of looked at each other and found each other interesting. But Squirrel was laying on the floor in the living room. Every time Katie would clean her paws, she would clean her. We all know they clean this and then clean behind their ear and clean the bottom of their feet and then do that. She would lick just the tops of her paw, and that's the only way she would ever clean her paws, the tops of her paws. And one day, Squirrel was in the living room. I should have filmed this. Squirrel was in the living room, and she was cleaning her paw this way, licking the front of her paw. And it wasn't one of those where she was licking her paw and then going behind her ear like they do frequently. She was just licking the front of her paw. And Katie licked the back of her paw and then looked over at Squirrel, adjusted the way she was sitting. So she was sitting just like Squirrel was. I swear. And then she flipped her paw over and looked at Squirrel, then licked her paw and looked at Squirrel again. And so they absolutely learned. She became better at cleaning by watching Squirrel. The part of that story that I found weird is that she came from a home with 20 or 30 other cats, of which I would say that maybe 15 of the maybe 15 to 20, the vast majority were Maine Coon cats. So I found it odd that she didn't pick up that behavior in the home, yet she picked it up very soon after being with us. Anyway, Okay. Fully weaning off mother's milk can take several weeks. Some mothers will wean their kittens earlier, while others will let kittens suckle even after they stop producing milk. Um, this comfort nursing can also occur on soft toys and in blankets and is a way for cats to self soothe. It isn't a whole lot different than sucking your thumb. We've seen that, right? You've had cats where you've seen them like sucking on a toy or a blanket. That's what they're doing. Now, a thing that's interesting, the kneading, the reason making biscuits, the reason kittens do that, it stimulates milk when they're nursing, when they're kittens. Um, she's the only cat I've ever had that doesn't do that. She doesn't do it on blankets. She doesn't do it on me when she lays on my chest. She's purring up a storm, and it's just not something she does. So if you have a Maine Coon cat and your Maine Coon cat doesn't do that, please let me know. If you think that's a sign of her being bottle fed, please let me know. I'm just curious. Okay, now we're going to talk about sexual maturity and spaying and neutering. On average, female kittens reach sexual maturity when they go into heat and can become pregnant at 6 months old. Wow, that's too young. Male kittens reach sexual maturity at the same age or older, but when they do, they are generally larger with a newly sexually mature female. Usually, they're larger than a newly sexually mature female. So when a male is sexually mature, they're larger than a sexually mature female. This early age at reproduction means cats can breed, well, kind of like rabbits. During her reproductive life, one female cat can have more than 100 kittens. You're spayed, so you never have to worry about that. All right, so not all these kittens will survive adulthood. One 2004 study found that 3/4 of kittens born in the wild die or disappear before they reach 6 months of age. Despite this, shelters are often overcrowded with cats and kittens. Each year in the United States, thousands of cats are euthanized by animal control services due to a lack of shelter space, homes, and foster care for them. Squirrel, you see her put her hand over her face. Squirrel is her house sister. It's the tortie that we have, my brother's cat. I'm just her side guy. And she loves me a lot, but I'm her side guy. Squirrel was a rescue in a kill shelter in Reno. Tommy went there and wanted a cat. There were three in cages side by side, and Squirrel was in the middle cage. And he loves torties. The other two, I'm told, were just absolutely specimens. They were just gorgeous, perfectly symmetrical, gorgeous little kittens. And she was a kitten, and he put his fingers in the cage, and she ran over and laid down on his fingers and just wouldn't budge. And the funniest thing about it is my brother has a YouTube channel and was telling his channel that he was going to get a cat. And he said, let's have his channel name the cat. So they took a vote and they determined in a live stream that the cat's name was going to be Squirrel. Now, when he got the cat, he went to the woman at the shelter and said, I found a cat I'd like to adopt. And they said, which one? And he said, the tortie. And she said, it's for real. She said, are you sure? And he said, yes. And he said, first she asked, what's the name? And he goes, I don't know. It's the tortie. She goes, I need the name. That's when she said, the tortie? He went and got the name. It was on a little card that was behind. He couldn't see it. So he went behind and picked up the card, and the name was Squirrel. So her name, his channel determined by a vote, decided that they were going to call it Squirrel. And when he selected her, that was her name already, which I think is very, very cool. And that was a kill shelter. He saved her. All right. So many vets suggest waiting to spay or neuter a kitten until 5 or 6 months old, although some rescue groups will do this earlier as part of informed adoption initiatives. Once kittens reach 2.2 pounds at 8 weeks old, they are spayed or neutered and adopted into a loving home. Spaying and neutering not only keeps kittens from reproducing, but prevents female cats from going into heat, lowering the risk of mammary cancer later on. It extends their lifespan by decreasing a cat's urge to roam during a hormonal surge, which keeps them from fighting with other animals, getting hit by vehicles, and encountering other behavioral mishaps, both indoor and out. So she is never going to get it. I had a cat, and we were going to get it neutered. It was a male cat, and I rescued him. I didn't know if he. I didn't know if he had ever experienced, if he had ever made it. And the vet asked me, and I said, "Well, I don't really know." And he said, "Well, because here's the deal: if somebody takes a candy bar away from you, and you've never tasted the candy bar, it's not that big a deal. But man, if you've tasted that candy bar and you really like that candy bar and they take it away, they can be really angry. And that can be what happens. Look at her. When she sleeps in my bed, she never curls into a ball. She is straight as an arrow. It's really funny. She's sleeping now. She's not looking. Her eyes are closed. Now I want to tell you a little bit about cat varieties because I found this neat. Ranging from inky black to tawny gold and everything in between, a cat's fur coat helps it hide from the animals it stalks and from its own predators. And cat coats don't just vary in color, they also vary in pattern. What would a tiger be without its stripes, or a leopard without its rosettes? I was going to say spots, but whatever. So cats have a broad range of fur colors, patterns, lengths, and textures. The variation is created by several genes. When these genes are mixed in different combinations, felids, or cats, can show a wide assortment of fur colorations and traits. Domestic cats have inherited this stunning array of genetically determined colors and patterns. Can you hear a purr? No, I thought she was purring. Okay, with its characteristic whorl, stripes, or spots, tabby is the ancestral pattern for cats. But generations of selective breeding have produced numerous coat patterns, including solid coat colors, shaded coats, pointed coats, and coats displaying a mix of two or more distinct colors. The two primary coat color pigments are eumelanin, which produces black and brown, and phenylalanine, which is, I'm sorry about that, which makes red and yellow or orange. The genes that control fur color are located on the cat's X chromosome. Like other mammals, a cat with two X chromosomes, XX, is female, and a cat with an XY is male. All right, so male cats always get their. This is I found interesting. I want you to get a good view of her. Since you're looking at it, you can get a good view of this amazing tail. Isn't that something? The tail is just spectacular. It's like one of my favorite things about her. This I found interesting. Male cats always get their coat color from their mom, all right? Whereas females get theirs from mom and dad, okay? So male cats can either be orange or black, while females can be orange, black, or orange and black, with rare exceptions. Kittens from the latter group are called tortoiseshell cats or torties, with their fur orange and black irregularly dispersed in a brindled excuse me, in a brindled pattern, sometimes with cream or gold highlights. That is my cat, Torty, squirrel. Now, the funny thing about torties, and I will tell you this, you either like them or you don't. A lot of people think torties are ugly, but if you love torties, here's what I find weird about torties. Please, if you're still watching, thank you for still watching. But tell me how you feel about this. If you're a tortie person, for some reason to me, every tortie cat I see seems like they came from the same litter. Like not like they're also a tortie, like my cat happens to be a tortie, but they look like they came from this, like they're litter mates. It's just weird. So let's talk about torties for a minute. Excuse me. A big dose of tortitude. Many tortie lovers say that besides telltale coloring and good looks, their cats also have a big dose of attitude. Although temperament varies widely among cats, scientists from the University of California, Davis, surveyed more than 1,200 people who said that their calico and torties were more likely than other cats to be aggressive during everyday interactions, handling, or vet visits. Black and white and gray and white cats also scored higher in aggression than those with solid colored coats of black, gray, or white. Researchers aren't sure why and don't believe behavior differences are caused by fur color itself. Instead, catitude frequently appears alongside tricolor coats, earning these cats a reputation as divas, a high bar in the cat world. Despite their generally placid behavior, solid black cats at shelters will often wait the longest to be adopted, likely stemming from the stereotypes that black cats are unlucky. And that's the most. I've owned a black cat. Black cats are I think, wonderful. Um, Now, before I go further, let me tell you really quickly my black cat story. I had a black cat that I got when my oldest son, was a little boy. He wanted a kitten. We got it, and we said to him, we'd let him read it. And he was a little boy, he was 4. We were reading Bible stories, and he read it. We read a story about Josh in the Bible, and he wanted to name his cat Josh. True story. So we named the cat Josh, and Josh was solid black and gorgeous. And he was the most athletic cat I've ever had. He could jump. I had an entertainment center, um, and I don't know how tall it was, but it could jump from the floor to the top of the entertainment center. The other thing that was weird about the cat was, I don't know how it came to be, but he loved wearing a red bandana around his neck, super loose. I mean, we'd put it on, drape it over his neck, and he'd wear it all day. If it came off, whenever it would come off, he would pick it up and bring it to us to put it back on. And he was a spectacular cat. He was one of those cats that was just so cool. I was worried someone was going to steal him. We had him neutered. One day he was an indoor cat. Somehow he came up missing, got out somehow, and we lost him. At the time I was living in Reno on the cul-de-sac. Tiburon Court was the street. Anyway, one day I was there and I was home. Did I have all 3 kids? Yes, I had all 3 of my children then. And I was outside, and we lived on the very, very last house in the cul-de-sac. So I was outside, I was looking at the end of right at the street that turns into the cul-de-sac. And I saw a black cat. I looked at it, I was like, man, that looks like Josh. And I went, Josh. And I don't mean it sort of made its way to me. It ran to me. And you know how cats are, man. It got to be about 3 or 4 feet away, and it flopped on its side and laid over on its back and stuck its arched its back and looked at me upside down. And I went, oh my God, Josh. Now, it had been about, I'm not really sure. It had to have been about a year since we'd seen Josh. So I couldn't believe it. I went over and picked it up. Still very light. It was very, very light. So I was very excited. I went into the house. The only saving grace to the story is that 2 of my 3 kids were sleeping, taking a nap. So I said, honey, you're not going to believe it. Josh came back. She said, what? I said, Josh came back. And my oldest son was his cat. He comes running downstairs, and I'm in the living room holding Josh like a baby. And my kid's mom was at the top of the stairs. She was, are you sure that's Josh? I said, there's no collar. It looks just like Josh. It ran to me. And, I'm holding him. He's light. He's lost a lot of weight. He said, is he neutered? And I spread his legs a little bit, looked down. And sure enough, I saw a pair of little furry black raisins. And it was not neutered. It was a male cat. It was not Josh. I went, oh my God, it's not Josh. I put it down and it bolted out of my house. The door was still open. That's my black cat story. And you know what? We went out and got my son another cat, so it was okay. But anyway, getting back to this. Um, okay. Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting. Because of the color combination of torties, um, it's really interesting. The color combination of a tortie needs two X chromosomes. Now, torties are almost all female. Every once in a while, okay, one in about, let's see, only about 1 in 3,000 torties are male. So you do see them sometimes. I saw a male Maine Coon cat tortie. Oh my God. Anyways, only if you ever see a male tortie, that's a rare. First of all, the torties in general are rare, but a male tortie is 1 in 3,000. That's crazy. Their genetic rarity with 3 chromosomes. They have X, X, and Y and are usually sterile. That's why there are so few of them. I wish I had a picture loaded of that the male tortie Maine Coon. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. All right, so a calico cat is similar to a tortie, but calicos also have a genetic condition called piebalding that produces patches of white fur. Their colors aren't brindled, but are discrete patches of orange, black, and white. They're very, very pretty. Um, a calico patterning is set early in a cat's embryonic development to prevent females from getting a double dose of genes on their X chromosomes. One chromosome actually switches off, creating what's called a bar body. If the X chromosome with the orange pigment gene is turned off, she'll have a patch of brown or black fur. That's kind of cool. If the X chromosome with the black pigment gene is turned off, then the orange pigment will show as she matures. These patches enlarge, giving the calico her distinctive markings. Now, with this cat, let me see if I can hold her tail in such a way. Okay. Right here, you can sort of see darker. All right. She is a silver red um, Maine Coon. So her dad, and I've showed the pictures before, but since we're talking about patterns right now, I'll show you again. This is her father is a silver Maine Coon. Now, I'm kind of like a broken record. I repeat myself, but there's a lot of that going on here. So here is Katy Purry's father. He's a silver Maine Coon. His entire skin, his entire coat is the same color, no shading differences. He is silver. Now, this is Katy Purry's mom, and she's a red Maine Coon with a spectacular muzzle. Doesn't she have a great muzzle? Okay, so what's going to happen with Katy Purry? She's actually a silver red Maine Coon. So all these spots where it's sort of darker, right here, you'll see some darker. Every spot where you see, like there's some here and some on her head, the tips, all those hairs are silver, but the very tips of them are going to be red. Now, there are people that always say, "Oh, it's a beautiful white cat," and she certainly appears white. Go back and look at the very, very first videos of when we got her. She was white with no color variation whatsoever. She was white, and I thought that's the way she was going to be. It didn't matter to me though. But now these spectacular colors are coming out. When we first got her, I said to the breeder, "She's a beautiful white cat." She goes, "Oh no, she's not white. She's silver." She said, "Hold on." She left the room I was with Tommy. She left the room we were standing in, went to a different room. When she came back, she had a white cat, and she held up Katy next to this white cat, and she said, "This is a white one. This is a silver one." And when they're side by side, the differences are absolutely noticeable. There's a video I did holding Katy up outside where she was on my shoulder. And in that video, you can really see the silverish. But she's the first, after about 2 weeks, she had some darker spots on the right hand side of her face, all right, on her muzzle. or a little above her muzzle, but like near her eye. And I literally said out loud, she's not cleaning herself well enough. She's not grooming. And she's grooming perfectly. That's coloration changing. So when she's full grown, she is going to be a very, very cool looking cat because all of those hairs with red on it, you just there's only this much red below. It's all silver. So there's some information about color patterns and different types of cats. Look at if she wants to stretch out. She doesn't like being in a ball. She hangs here because she likes my voice. Don't you? How's my girl? Want to look up and say hi? No, she's sleeping. She loves this. She loves her face rub. A very spoiled girl. I'm going to show off a little bit more of her just because she's beautiful to look at. Tail is just so spectacular. I wish you could feel how soft it is. And that foot, here, let me show you something just as a comparison. I'm just going to show your foot off for a minute, sweetheart. Here. This, it's an old iPhone, so don't mock me. This is an iPhone 11. For comparison, look at it. It's almost as big. I mean, her foot is, in fact, her foot is just about as long as this phone is. She has just enormous feet. But she really is a doll. And I tell you what, it's really interesting. I knew when she was sneezing, we took her to the vet. She had the tests. I had to wait 5 days before they couldn't just give me meds. I had to wait 5 days. I absolutely knew when we were at the vet's that she had a respiratory infection. I just wanted the meds. And as a cat owner, a dude who loves his cat, I feel so much better in my head knowing that she's on antibiotics. She's going to be well soon. But one more time before I stop. There is the dopamine coon kitty sleeping, half in the basket, half out, because she's a hoss. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We're trying to get her monetized so Katy can be a full-time YouTuber. Let me tell you where Katy's at right now, just so you know. Katy Purry's channel right this minute, people, has 513 subscribers. So we're a little over halfway there to get monetized. Additionally, we need 4,000 hours of view time, and we are approaching about 800. So we got a long way to go. Now, for those of you that, if you ever have trouble sleeping, there is a sleep app I made here. It's only about 30 minutes long, but it's a relaxation app to help you relax at the end of the night. If you have trouble sleeping, pop that on when you go to sleep. That view time helps get Katy monetized. We appreciate you and love you. She sure does. But thanks for hanging out with us. That's Katy Purry, the dopamine coon cat, and I am just her human.